I was gonna only talk about one thing specifically today, but seeing as it's new day, more bullshit to go down, I figured I would just start this video off with saying that Justin Trudeau is ridiculous. All right, that fool is just insane. I cannot believe that he's invoking emergency powers right now in Canada over this whole trucker convoy stuff. Sorry, Canadians. My heart goes out to you. My heart goes out to the truckers. Um, it's pretty funny. I had ordered this thing off of Amazon, and it was taking a while to get here, and I had the thought that, you know what, if I lost that item to freedom and it's never gonna come because it's out in Canada in a convoy, I'm okay with that. I was all right with that. And then it ended up showing up like 3 days later. So I was like, oh, well, I guess I got it. But the fact that this guy is like saying that what is it? There's the quote of the day. I'm reading this from the Daily Wire. This is not a peaceful protest. We will not allow illegal and dangerous activities to continue. And that caught him, I guess he got the police to clear trucks blocking some major trade route. But so you're saying that everything that happened in 2020, Trudeau, was peaceful, one, and they were not dangerous, two, and they were legal. What everybody did, from breaking windows, fights, shootings, looting, taking Nikes and shoes because we're black. So you're saying that none of that was dangerous, none of that was illegal, right? And none of that was not peaceful, right? Even though these trucker guys are literally just showing that they are free to do whatever they want. They are free to stand there. They are free to block traffic. They are free to not cause harm because they weren't causing harm. They were just, delaying some trade in a sense, delaying some goods, minuscule shit that we don't really give a shit about or probably take for granted anyway. But yeah, this was, like I said, this was taken from the Daily Wire, and this is news coming out today. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, Trudeau, I hope that I, I hope you step down eventually. I hope someone takes your fucking place because first of all, you did blackface, so I know you don't remember that, but we do. So that already kind of got you on a sour note in many people's books. But everything that you've been doing and saying lately, as of late, with this whole convoy, just shows you've been showing your true colors. But I haven't really been following what he's been saying. I just saw that this was like the headline of the day, one of the headlines of the day. Someone else got shot too. That some mayor running for something, almost got assassinated. So shit's going down. But what I wanted to talk about today was actually, in fact, the Daily Wire, and it just so happened that I came when I logged on. This was this was the news for today, so I was like, wow. I think I had heard it last night, but I was like, I was definitely not paying attention to the news, because it's Valentine's Day, so hopefully all you guys got it in, or at least got around to near it. Well, excuse me, more so than you had before. But yeah, I wanted to talk about the Daily Wire today because so they just premiered this movie Shut In a couple days ago, or last week, and they're starting to branch out into movies, and they're getting more recognition, and everybody that's a part of the Daily Wire is pretty much coming up right now. Because people are waking up to this bullshit that whatever left narrative that's being thrown out at whatever day is pushing down people's throats, and the Daily Wire is slowly, I guess, overcoming that, and they're opening people's eyes to what's really going on, and what people are actually saying, and doing. Most people don't pay attention to the small details in things. They care about the small things in life, and the small details in life, but they don't care about the small things that politicians do and that people like that do. And Robert Williams was trending a couple days ago, and I want to review a film of his that I hadn't seen before, and I feel like maybe some people haven't, so that'll be coming soon. But one of his quotes, politicians should wear like jerseys or whatever with with whoever sponsors them, so we know who sponsors them, you know, or something. It was great, and that is so true, you know, because we only see things at face value for what they are on the news or whoever or whatever we get our sources from. But it's like, you know, at the end of the day, that's not all that's there, and it's up to people now like the Daily Wire to go and show you those small details. And it's like, you know, you may not change your mind on whatever's going on in the world or your political affiliation or whatever, but at least you have some insight that you wouldn't have gotten from whether it be CNN or Fox or whatever other person or YouTuber or person of interest that you get your information from. But yeah, so the Daily Wire is moving into film now, and honestly, I think it's awesome. I think that is very cool. I think it is something that they will succeed in. You know, between the head guys there, right? You got Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh. Oh yeah, you got Jeremy Boring. You got Candace Owens. You got Andrew Clavin. Yeah, all those fools are like awesome. You know, Gina Carano's now in it. So I mean, you know, the Daily Wire is moving on up. I mean, Gina Carano's going to be in a new film coming up soon, Terror on the Prairie, and that looks freaking awesome. It's like Little House, but you know, switch it with terror. But you know, all these guys, most people would say like, oh, well, you know, they're just like Catholics or Christians or Jews, because it's what most of them are. But at least they care about, you know, the values that we all share. So it's like, you know, this shut-in film. This shut-in film was pretty good. I mean, I will say that for the most part, I enjoyed it. I would definitely say it's a great watch. I understand how people were like, you know, you kind of have to be in the mood for it, but it's also one of those movies that, you know, I guess you kind of could watch with your young kid, because it's like, you know, or like a teenager, because it's like, you know, you don't want to end up like this. You don't want to end up meeting someone or doing this to someone, of like locking them in a room, you know. As for acting and stuff like that, and like, you know, I mean, I can't really say that everyone did a stellar job, but I mean, shit, it was pretty damn good. You know, it was a very good movie overall. You know, I mean, I felt like the whole room itself that she was shut in, you know, the whole pantry, I feel like it was a character on its own. You know, that room was, you know, a character that she had to get through and overcome. And you know, all the godly references and stuff, and all, you know, with her having, you know, if you haven't seen it, you should watch it. If you have seen it, you know what I'm talking about. But it's like those aspects. I mean, I guess it was a little like, okay, but also it's like, I feel like maybe people like that have done drugs and have messed up their lives, and then end up bringing kids into the world, and they don't take care of those kids. They need to have some type of awakening to happen to them. And maybe in movies it would be more internal. Maybe it would be more like flashbacks and the memories and all that shit that brings you back to it. But then, you know, maybe in 2022, people just need to know that maybe God is out there. You know, maybe God's got your back. Maybe he died for your sins and you're okay. You know, like, it's just, I understood where they were going with it, but it's like, all right, fine. I understand also why people probably didn't like it, but it's like, that's like a genuine thing that could definitely happen in the real world, you know, like, and then he's like dogging on rehab and stuff, like her boyfriend and stuff, like, oh, you know, you went back to rehab and then you get out and you fall right back. And it's like, yeah, you know what? That is true. It does happen to people. They fall off the bandwagon. They go to AA meetings and then they end up drinking like in like a year. But you know, it is something that happens. But there are people that go and they find Christ and then they're fine, and then they live their lives happy or whatever. Like, it does happen. So to diss that, it's just kind of like, you know, I guess, but also is real, like, you know. And I'm not trying to push religion. I'm just saying, it's real to many people. You know, there's an article that I saw where it was saying, you know, atheists turning to God amidst the pandemic. And I mean, I totally believe that, for people that's saying like, oh, we're going to die and stuff, but then like maybe the virus never affects them and they're like, oh, like maybe there is a God and like I need to help people or whatever. There's also articles coming out where pastors were saying that God won't go, or that the virus won't go away until churchgoers take their masks off, which is hilarious, seeing as that like with this guy, with Trudeau saying that, all this illegal activity going on with the convoy. You remember back in 2020 when the virus was really big and rampant, but people were also like cheering on race baiters and the BLM stuff that was apparently peaceful and legal and all that stuff. But the churches were being prosecuted. Pastors were going to jail and to prison and stuff for like not wearing masks or having their church, opening their churches and like singing songs. I mean, not even that they were just inside praying, but they were like, just because they were singing songs, people were like ratting out their pastors. I mean, what kind of a world is that where you like go to church every Sunday, but then your pastor does something because he thinks this is the way the Lord intended it, but then you end up sending him to prison? I mean, it kind of seems like we're going back in time to back in the day with, the Romans and stuff, right? But that's just me. Again, not trying to push no religion on you, but sometimes I guess I do feel like, what was it, Paul? Luke? I forget which one, but whichever one that went to prison for some stuff too. But again, I'm not that heavy into religion, so I don't follow much of that, but I do, I do have my beliefs and I do stay true to my convictions and values. But yeah, so, I did like it. It wasn't really scary. I'm not going to say the movie was a horror movie at all. The suspense, yeah, it was definitely suspenseful. And a lot of the times that were suspenseful, I was like, oh, nothing happened. Oh, nothing happened. But then when it did happen, I was like, okay, well, I knew that was kind of going to happen, but I just wanted it to happen when it looked like it was going to happen. Or like, they could have like, all right, quick spoiler spot. So right after she ends up getting out of the room that she was shut in, she ends up going over to the guy that broke into her house, who ends up being a pedophile or like a child molester, and she goes to see if he's like awake, and she literally like hits him in the, like, okay, she doesn't, but she's gonna steal his keys to see if like he brought a car, but he ended up bringing a bike. But she was going to like, it seemed like she should have just hit him in the nuts, right? Because she like kicks him to see if he's like alive, which he ends up being alive later. But he was just like playing dead, I guess, because he's a really strong-minded crackhead. But she literally like could have, I would have kicked him in the nuts for the simple fact that like they've established that he was a child molester and they've established that he's like a pedophile. So it's like, why not just like add like one extra, like, this is what we think of him, like, I don't know, it would have been funny. It just would have been great. It would have been in character with the girl being like, I don't like this guy. 1, 2, don't want him by my kids. 3, obviously he's like some crazy crackhead dude that she don't like. So it would have just totally fit, but again, whatever. So stuff like that made me just, I felt like scenes like that would have been perfect, and it would have just showed that like, hey, these guys are like serious about just wanting to show that it's okay to think the things we think sometimes, because it's a little rough. It's a little rough, but I liked the movie, thought it was good. That's mainly the main point I wanted to make about it. But I'm really glad that they premiered it on YouTube for free. That was freaking cool. So Daily Wire, thank you. And man, the sun is really coming up and down right now. I love it. But Daily Wire, thank you. And hopefully you guys just make more great stuff and make a good horror movie. I would love to see them make like a solid, cool type of monster movie. I don't know what, but it would be freaking awesome. So you go, Daily Wire, keep going. And then the second film, the second part of this would be the first film that they helped release and distribute, which was Run, Hide, Fight. And one of my favorite YouTubers, Critical Drinker, finally reviewed it. And I had kind of saw it, or bits of it, like when it came out last year. Or like, right? Because it's already been like a year. So it's like they released another film. It's been like a year. So I was like, oh, they're releasing a new film. Cool. Like, I got to watch it. I don't have to go back and watch Run, Hide, Fight. But when the Drinker reviewed it, I was like, oh, cool. Like, like, well, shit. Like, I'll have to see let me see what he thinks about it. And I totally agree, because a lot of people had said it before. It's like, it's kind of interesting to like put this, Run, Hide, Fight, basing it off a school shooting and something that like, a lot of people take to heart. So it's kind of funny, because it was like they purposefully wanted it to be out, because it's like, all right, look, this is a school shooting where like a girl, not a guy, but a girl is like the savior, and like she goes through all these trials and adversities and stuff to actually save, ultimately save people in the school and the people that she cared about and stuff. And honestly, I would say that given that all of us have been through high school, and all of us have been through elementary school and junior high and whatever, and some of us are homeschooled and whatever and what have you, but given today, in 2022, 2021, maybe that movie was actually good. Like, it didn't need to have meaning. It didn't need to have revelations as to why characters are doing the things that we're doing. It was simple. It was for clout. Because that's what everything is. Everything is for clout, right? So it made sense that the reason they were doing it and the reason they were getting at this school was because, yeah, these were all like random troubled teens. They're literally random troubled fucks that are out there today that are just thinking for no reason of like, I mean, maybe I could like shoot up a school because these fools were dogging on me for like 2 years out of my 4 years of high school. But you know what? For the last year, not anymore. And like shit like that does go into people's minds most likely. Shit like that it is thought of. You know, like they do have that suicidal or that you know, those bad thoughts. You know, wanting to just hurt people. And it's like maybe this movie needs to be shown that, you know what, maybe the least likely person that you think is going to end up being the one that takes you down. You know, maybe you'll prove a point that the cops didn't show up in time. Maybe you'll prove a point that like you can be so famous in a matter of hours just by doing something as heinous as this. You know, maybe it doesn't need to, you don't need to have it all make sense to just know that, you know what, you could do this and you could have something like this happen because you just feel like it and you just had a bad morning or whatever. Like I mean, if you haven't seen it, you need to see it. It is a cool movie, but the main guy that like does the whole school shooting and stuff, like he kills his mom, right? Like he like slits his mom's throat, and you're like, well, why? Like I guess he had no intentions on coming back from this, so it didn't really need any explanation because obviously he's living a shitty life to the point where he just killed his family. Like you know, like there's really no explanation you need at that point. But it is funny that the cops go through, like, even though it's a live feed, they go to his house and like they do all this stuff while he's like killing people in the school. So again, it's funny that it's like, yeah, that was his point, that the cops would go through every other avenue before actually taking siege on the school, even when it's live and they see what's going down. Like, I mean, that was the whole plot of the school. I'm sorry for getting ahead of myself, but that was the whole plot of the movie, was that it was a school shooting, and these guys are holding up the school, that were in that school, and the only reason they're doing it is to put it on social media and to get famous, to show, again, I guess for clout, like that it just to show that they can be famous and they could have all this happen, go to jail, whatever, you know, like it was very interesting, but also it was like, well, they're high school students. They have no idea what they're trying to do. They're just moving fast, thinking slow, and you know, but they got guns, and you know, they got all this tech that they got. Fuck, however I know how, you know, like yeah, there's a lot of the gaps in it, of course, but it's like, you know, compared to Shut In, I think that the scenario happening at the school shooting is more, well, okay, I guess Shut In would be more plausible because of the domestic violence issue and, like, you know, have pulling drugs and dangerous substances like that into a relationship. But the school shooting, yeah, maybe I guess it isn't as believable because most people would probably freak out. But again, it just shows that there could be the last person you suspect that could actually turn the tables on you at the last minute. Like how she says they're not going to remember you, they're going to remember me. It's like, bingo, that's what it was, you know. And then, I mean, plus Thomas Jane as the, you know, the Punisher coming in as dad, getting the headshot, fucking clean, fucking cool. But yeah, you know, so I don't know. The Daily Wire is just, I feel like they are like that Christian radio station, right? Like you listen to the Christian radio, well, I guess you could also say Catholic radio station, but it wouldn't really work as well. But a Christian radio station where you're listening to all this godly music, but it sounds cool, right? It's like rock music, maybe some rap, some country, some alternative, and it all sounds good, but it's all Christian, right? It's all talking about God and how much we love God. And you could listen to it and you could dig all the music, but you could not really feel like, you know, well, I don't really like God or whatever you want to say, because obviously you just enjoy the music aspect of it, right? So I feel like the Daily Wire as a whole, if you watch their YouTube video conversations, if you listen to everything that those YouTubers that I explained and the members of the Daily Wire, you know, Jeremy Boring, John Bickley, who's the editor in chief, Michael Knowles, Andrew Clavin, Candace Owens, Matt Walsh, you know, all those guys. If you listen to what they're saying, obviously they don't hate America. They don't hate creative art and works that have been done in the past. They don't hate movies that have been done in the past. They criticize movies today. You know, they criticize the wokeness culture today. But we need to have an awakening of just common sense and knowledge, and people seeing what our government is doing to us and seeing what people are doing that are actually harming society, you know, from the pronoun nonsense and the sex and race baiting to Justin Trudeau literally locking down Canada and taking away civil rights in Canada. We have to just understand what's going on, because if we don't, it'll be too late. And people like the guys at the Daily Wire and girls or ladies, they are, you know, maybe they're our first line of defense right now at just finding out what really is going on in the world. Because, you know, it just makes you sometimes you just gotta think about it. Think about it. What's wrong with the world today? What's wrong with the world today? What is wrong with the world today? Oh man, yeah. I just wanted to make this one for you guys because I saw this and I was like, man. And I wanted to talk about the movies, and I was gonna just review the movies, but I figured, I don't know, I'll just talk to you guys. And then seeing the Trudeau thing, I was like, might as well start a video on a high note or a low one. Anyway, it's been Ghost in the Craig, and thank you so much for watching and tuning in, and I'll catch you guys later.
Gotta think about it. Think about it. Good cops been framed and put into a can. All the money that we're making, it's going to the man. What man? Which man? Who's the man? When's a man a man? What makes a man a man? Am I a man? Yes, technically I am.